Racing fans are actually pretty lucky to have so many racing game options available to them. There are tons of options to race what you want, when you want, and where you want, where it is sometimes limited by the game that's chosen. Now, while most games are going to have your big facilities like Daytona or Circuit of the Americas, some tracks aren't represented in any video game or simulations whatsoever. Some games like the original R Factor and Assetto Corsa all have the ability to add unofficial modded content in the form of any track you may want. Having a laser-scanned, mostly accurate representation of any venue is key and what we're looking at specifically in today's video. So now, which American racing venues would we like to see added into our favorite sim racing titles? If there's any tracks that you think that we did miss, let us know in the comments. Quite possibly one of the most advantageous venues to include on this entire list of tracks is the Ozarks International Raceway in Gravois Mills, Missouri. In fact, the future of the facility could lend itself to many forms of motorsport, from road racing to off-road racing, or even just some playtime in the dirt. One of the cooler aspects of this entire raceway is that it's one of the newest racing facilities in the world. Having only been built in 2020 and opened for the first time in 2022, the main course is 19 turns and measures in at 3.9 miles or 6.3 kilometers in length. There's also an outer course that's 2.5 miles or 4 kilometers long, lasting 11 corners, as well as an inner course that's only 1.4 miles or 2.2 kilometers, only containing 9 turns. With those configurations, Ozarks saw series such as IMSA's Lamborghini Super Trofeo and SRO's GT World Challenge of America. The complex is also said to have plans for off-road racing and a dirt tri-oval for some traditional dirt racing. So close to being a near perfect place for iRacing to go out and scan. It only needs an asphalt oval and it'd be a Grand Slam venue. With Ozarks International Raceway only just being finished, it does make sense as to why it hasn't found its place into any video game or simulation just yet. Regardless, it would be great to see the road racing part of it in any simulator. Maybe iRacing could explore the future possibilities of off-road and dirt racing, and utilizing the track to its fullest potential if it does get laser scanned. Moving towards the many oval tracks seen here in the States, in the Northwest there is a track called Evergreen Speedway, or also known as the premier short track of the Northwest. Like Ozarks, Evergreen lends itself to being a Swiss Army knife type of track with multiple different ways to get your race on. While the main venue is the regular 5/8 outer oval, there also exists both a 3/8 mile and a 5th mile inner oval. And the way the ovals intersect allows for some chaotic and fun figure 8 racing. And on top of all that, there's also a drag strip on the premises as well. It's also a NASCAR home track which hosts the NASCAR Wheel and All-American Series, Formula Drift, various local racing classes, NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series races back in the late 1990s, and even a global rallycross event back in 2016. While NASCAR itself needs to get one or more of their national racing series there again, finding it in a game like iRacing or R Factor 2 or even Automobilista 2 would be fun to see. Heading in the completely opposite area of the Pacific Northwest is the first of 2 temporary street circuits on this list. The St. Petersburg venue is located in the southeast of Florida and is a temporary course that has hosted events since the 1980s. It's been modified since, but for the most part it's still the same venue that it was back then. Often the season opener to the IndyCar series, the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg shuts down the downtown area as well as one of the runways at the Albert Whitted Airport. The track is part asphalt, part concrete, and the 14-corner temp circuit is 1.8 miles long, or in European terms, 2.8 kilometers. Temporary tracks have been in simulators and video games before, and they've definitely been recreated with mods. St. Pete, though, has eluded major racing titles for quite a while, while other temporary tracks such as Belle Isle in Detroit and Long Beach in California have both been in iRacing for years. The problem is getting scanning equipment in and out without messing up the race weekend, and is a tall task considering that these temporary courses need to revert back to their normal daily functions as soon as possible. Regardless, hopefully this track is part of the new IndyCar game when that releases in 2023 at the minimum, although it would be great to see in other sims too. The second temporary street circuit is another fairly new venue, and while it isn't purpose-built like the Ozarks, Nashville's new street circuit is a truly unique venue in America's music capital. Nashville is the host of the Music City Grand Prix, a new event that began in 2021. The circuit is 2.1 miles or 3.4 kilometers in length and features 11 turns around the downtown Nashville area. The course races near the Tennessee Titans football stadium and goes up and down the Korean War Veterans Memorial Bridge over the Cumberland River. And if you look at the overhead shot of the track map, it somewhat resembles a musical note, very clever with it being in Music City and being the Music City Grand Prix. The temp track is highly unique and would make a fine addition to many racing games out there. The Pikes Peak Hill Climb and the Pikes Peak International Raceway are 2 separate venues in the mountains of Colorado. However, having both racing areas of Pikes Peak would be a great inclusion for any game or sim out there. Only about 30 minutes away from one another, the Pikes Peak International Raceway was our initial thought when procuring this list. A multi-purpose track in Colorado Springs, Pike Peak is mainly an oval track that measures a full mile in length. Pikes Peak's facility also houses a 9-turn 1.3 mile roval track that races inside the oval and utilizes part of the oval as well. There's also a quarter-mile short oval track on the grounds. While the track is still in use, it's not being used by many big racing series nowadays. The hill climb, on the other hand, is still a very popular point-to-point course that's been referred to as a race to the clouds. This hill climb was included on Dirt Rally in 2015, but as the title has recently come off the virtual shelves, that means that the 12.4 mile hill climb with 156 turns is no longer on a currently sold title. We think that iRacing could be the perfect place to house both the hill climb and the raceway, as they already have the Mount Washington hill climb on their service.
And while we would love to see both of these in iRacing, the hill climb in particular would be great for Gran Turismo, being that they actually are a real-life sponsor of the event. So seeing it in Gran Turismo might be a great addition as well.
Known as the world's fastest half mile, Winchester Speedway in Indiana intrigues us for a very steep reason. At 37 degrees of banking, there is no other track that has more banking in the entirety of the United States. Winchester's racing roots date all the way back to the early 1910s. The current day version of the track was formed in the 1950s, and even still, that makes it one of the oldest ovals in the entire country. It hasn't hosted any national NASCAR series racing since the 1950s, but it did host some ARCA racing until recently. And while there are many ovals that deserve to be a part of any gaming title, Winchester would be a super fun experience with its massive banking in any virtual setting. Winchester just speaks the loudest as one of the most historic and the craziest venues to ever exist here in America. Last but not least, we have to mention Riverhead Raceway. Riverheads is a 0.2 mile venue on the east end of Long Island, which is only about an hour away from New York City. Home to the NASCAR Real and Modified series, plus a list of local racing series that includes Legends cars, late models, and Super Pro trucks, Riverhead Raceway is the last standing racetrack on Long Island. And sometimes the oval becomes a figure 8 track, with the interior of the track paved with lines painted in the crossover pattern. Pit Road, which is more like a garage area, is on the outside of the track, located at the entrance of Turn 3 and the exit of Turn 4. Similar to Evergreen that we covered earlier, Riverhead is a featured NASCAR home track. Its marquee event is the Islip 300 during the summer months of the season. Riverhead is only a couple hours drive away from the iRacing headquarters up north, so it hopefully wouldn't be too much of a task to get it scanned and added to iRacing. That completes our list of American tracks that we want to see added into any game or simulator out there. Do you agree with our list, or do you have any tracks that you think we missed? Let us know in the comments. Thank you for watching, subscribe, hit that like button, share with a friend, and as always, keep it pinned.